April of 2020, the NGCOA began hosting weekly, live, hour-long chats open to anyone in the golf business. Each week, NGCOA CEO Jay Tarde, accompanied by Don Rea, NGCOA board member and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club, discussed the state of the NGCOA, delved into challenges related to the COVID-19 crisis, and explored business topics of interest with special guests from golf, industry, and government relations. You can watch or rewatch these interesting and informative sessions on demand on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/NGCOA. Now, enjoy today's Golf Business Live.
All right. Hello, Don Rea.
Hello, Jay Karen. Man, we're getting fancy.
It's good to see you, man. I know this new production getup is exciting. We're very, very excited. So welcome everybody watching, I think mostly on YouTube. We've moved to the YouTube channel and Facebook Live. This is amazing. It's a September 2020 edition of Golf Business Live. Jay Karen here, CEO of NGCOA, coming to you live from the Mobile Command Center, also known as my spare bedroom home office in Charleston, South Carolina. And we have with us, of course, the inimitable Don Rea, owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club in Mesa, Arizona, NGCOA board member, former board member of the PGA of America, and current candidate for Secretary of the PGA of America. Don, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I could go deep into where I've been, in the hospital for 16 days because of an emergency appendectomy. I'm so just happy to be sitting in this chair again and spending time with you. Your health is so important. Staff here at Augusta Ranch did just an amazing job. But yeah, happy to be here today, brother.
We're going to dive into that. It's good to see you upright. That is for sure. So for the folks watching now, we will be able to see your comments and questions if you type into the comment section or the chat section on YouTube or Facebook. And in order for us to see your comments, you have to be logged in respectively to obviously Facebook or YouTube as well. If you're just an anonymous viewer on YouTube, we won't be able to see your comments. So you need to be logged in through whatever YouTube account that you have. So we'll be able to field your questions today. We do have a special guest that we'll bring on in a little bit, Jerry Tarde with Golf Digest Magazine. Excited to have him on the show today and to chat about all kinds of issues. But I would be remiss today if I did not give a shout out and well wishes to former board member and amazing NGCOA member Allison George, who was hit in the face with a golf ball at her course at Toad Valley in Pleasant Valley, Iowa last week. Don, she's texted me a picture of her in the hospital. It looked like a scene from the movie from Halloween. It was gruesome and scary, but as you know, Allison, she has an amazing sense of humor. So we're texting about it. And the surgery Wednesday went well from we were texting yesterday. So good wishes and speedy recovery to Allison. Also to all of our members out west who are experiencing the effects of the wildfires. Even our own board member, Mark Justina, I believe his golf course in Oregon was incredibly close, and his family, they're mostly in the timber business. And I know they've lost over 10,000 acres of their family's timberland in the fires that are happening out there. So again, our well wishes. There are natural disasters happening all the time in every area of America. It depends on where you are, and golf courses seem to always be touched by that. So if you're watching, or if you know golf course owners and operators who are in dire straits from these kinds of natural disasters, please have them reach out to our office, our advocacy office. Ronnie Miles has compiled a list of golf course owners and operators who have experienced such disasters, and we've put them on a task force to help respond to any members who might have questions and need a little coaching on how to get through and respond to some of this stuff. So reach out to us for that. So today, Don, on the national scene, I got to say it's really, I'm pretty excited to see the good energy that the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, the majors, all that happening. What I call Golf Hollywood is doing its thing, and it's great, and it's such good energy for our game, our sport. We know that rounds of golf are seeing double-digit, numbers this year. So I got to give kudos to Monahan on the tour and Mike Wan and Davis, everybody running the big events right now in this crazy time. I gotta say, from my seat, everything looks like it's going as well as it could go, considering all the circumstances. So I'm sure you're feeling that positive energy out there in Mesa with the consumers and what's happening in golf on what I again call the Golf Hollywood side, which is such an important source of energy, even for golf course owners and operators, because it fuels the fan base. So, but I want to throw that out there. Don, what do you see from your perspective on what's happening out there in golf media?
Yeah, I am excited and proud of our industry that collectively they came together as they rescheduled the majors. I mean, now it seems to all make sense. But back then, I heard Mike Davis the other day just say they were literally a day away from maybe not having the U.S. Open. A lot of things were in play because of the British Open and all the other things. But golf has banded together, all of the Hollywood golf. They banded together on behalf of really all of us who are the boots on the ground to make sure that golf was on television. Yeah. I mean, certainly that's stirring up some people to play. I don't know if that's all of it, but I know it's certainly some of it because they made a commitment. The industry made a commitment early on to say this is how we can hold our sport at a high level without spectators, but yet bring some viewership to the game and to that event. So very proud of them because it all makes sense now. But back in the day when they were pulling the trigger on this little schedule, it had to be very trying to kind of figure out how it all was going to work.
Yeah. I got to say right now, this week during the U.S. Open and the other majors, I am totally digging the mobile apps that like the PGA of America put out there during the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open app, while it's going on, because I don't have time to sit down in front of a TV. I never sit down. So if I can pull up that app and look at the scores like that, follow my favorite players, I really believe it's elevated the experience to engage with a major when you might not have time to sit down in front of a television the old-fashioned way. It's really pretty cool thing. We may ask Jerry a little bit about that, his opinions on kind of the new version of engaging with the championships these days. It's evolving. It's definitely evolving. But also some things happen on the national level. You've probably seen. I got to put this dig in there a little bit on what's happening out there. We're seeing what I guess demand to play golf at an amazing number this year. Not since, and I know this is a kind of a dubious honor to say we haven't seen these numbers since the 1990s. Well, that's kind of a dubious way of saying we're doing well, but we're double-digit up, which is fantastic. But what I'm seeing from the big OTTA out there, and you're seeing me kind of dive into this on social media, is that the incessant message on discounting. Find your 80% off rate right now. I got to say, that is just a cognitive dissonance right now when demand is as high as it's ever been. I'm just going to say this for, on the national front, it's hard to see such strong messages to buy the discount when demand is high right now and when we should be getting the healthiest prices for golf right now. So I got to put that out there that I think it's a tough thing to see right now that the strategy doesn't seem to be changing with the behemoth marketing engine of Golf Now and the Golf Channel. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Don?
Well, I can certainly tell you the demand out here. Last August, I did about $34,000 in green fees. This year, I did $66,000 in green fees. Wow. Not a big number. And remember, this is my off season. I'm not supposed to do that much. My restaurant this year made more money than the golf course did last year in August. So the demand is there. And I think you're right. I think it's just a matter of, listen, everybody knows who their rep is for those tee time providers. You got to call them. You got to tell them where you're at. If you don't call them, they're going to do what they've been doing based on agreements that you signed a long time ago. That doesn't necessarily make them a bad guy, but it makes them that you need to let them understand that, hey, it's a different time right now. Okay, so I know what I committed to before, but let's buckle up arms together. We're supposed to be all in this together. What can we do to eliminate maybe some of the barter I'm giving you, or can get a floor on there, because I want you to make more money. Let's be honest. When they're selling their barter at a lower amount, if they could charge 20% more of it, it would help all of our price integrity. Maybe they're nervous. Maybe we need to get with them. And I appreciate what the NGCOA has done. I'd love to see the PGA of America too, almost have a summit with all the OTTAs once or twice a year, just to say, how's everybody doing out there? This is what we're hearing from our 29,000. This is what we're hearing from our 4,000 golf course, 5,000 golf course owners. We would like you to, what can you do about it? I know with Supreme Golf, Jonathan Wright has been very open to talking to the PGA as we've kind of pressed him about his commoditization of golf. And guess what? He's backed off a little bit. So I know that it can happen. I think it's just a matter of opening those channels, but it starts with us down in the boots of the ground, calling our reps, going, hey, I saw what you did with barter on my golf course. Let's bump that up a little bit. I want you to make money too. I am killing it. I don't mind if you kill it, and I appreciate the marketing exposure you're giving me. But come on now, can we push some of this to tougher times of the day for me to sell? Because we still have times that are hard to sell.
Yeah.
So let's push that barter away from that. They could still make the same amount of money. So
maybe we
yeah,
can bring
certainly
Jimmy
it's
Carter.
communication.
Maybe we can bring in Jimmy Carter to have that summit, that peace summit, with the OTTs and the golf course operators. We'll see. We got work to do there, but it's tone deaf. It reminds me of a couple of years ago when there was some amazingly warm week in Chicago, like in March, like the temperature jumped like 15, 20 degrees. And all of a sudden, the Golf Now marketing was like, get your discount tee times, get out there, and here's your hot deals. Like, wait a second, if any time of year that you can probably get twice your normal rate, it's now. Stop doing this, So, sorry, I feel like Don Quixote tilting into the windmills here, but I got the voice has to be out there on these issues. So I'll move on. Okay, so speaking of rounds and revenue and so forth, just want to remind folks at home that we've got a conference coming up, Golf Business RevCon. We have nearly 250 owner-operators signed up for the digital version of the event, and we're going to have a very small but in-person event. If you're just really missing your fellow operators and you want to get in a room and you want to experience RevCon, come to Charleston September 30th and October 1st. If you're in the drive market, come on in. We'll be at the Belmont Hotel, socially distant. We're going to be using all the hotel's guidelines on how to run a meeting, and you'll be able to engage in the RevCon from the ballroom together. It'll be on the screen, kind of like going to a drive-in movie theater and experience the conference that way, but at least we'll have downtime and be able to network with each other and all that kind of stuff. So go to golfbusinessrevcon.com to check it out. We're excited about it. But Don, it does cause me to, the segue to this is, what about Golf Business Conference and the PGA show coming up? We have hundreds of our members attend the Golf Business Conference in person, scheduled to be at the PGA show. And as of today, the PGA show is still communicating that there'll be an in-person event, and obviously that could change. But for right now, we're looking to hopefully have a golf business conference that could be in-person and digital. We've definitely planned to have a digital option for those that don't feel comfortable traveling. But those that want to come to Orlando, we may have something for you. So stay tuned on what that will be like. But this has been a crazy event crazy year for the event business. That's for sure. But what I really want to know is what's the news from Lake Wobegon in Mesa, Arizona? What is happening at the golf course at Augusta Ranch? What have you seen this last month, Don? Talk to us.
Yeah, certainly I just addressed it, how much revenue we're making. I mean, it's amazing. And, just to plug what Mike Lauslot and I are going to talk about at RevCon, initially my numbers were smoking the competition. But I have to admit, when we were coming out of this or beginning the COVID deal, we saw some interest in golf. So we started selling a lot of family passes, a lot of annual passes. Well, now this has directly impacted some of my RevPAR because these people are playing, they're playing a lot. And yet I panicked a little bit early. I'm going to admit it. And because who knew what was going to happen? Now, the idea is how to convert. So what's going on at Augusta Ranch? A deep dive into our numbers like never before. What is going to happen? My peak season's coming up. I'll be closed in 3 weeks for 2 weeks for overseeding. And then boom, it's, we're looking at what does a peak season look like? What's the migration of the Canadian snowbirds coming down to Augusta Ranch? But yet, how do we protect, what Mike talks about and what we'll talk about at RevCon? How do you protect those tee times you can sell? Nothing wrong with passes, nothing wrong with funnels and transitional devices in order to get people more loyal to your golf course. But hey, just protect, those small percentage of tee times, that's 10 tee times a day, if you will, that you're going to sell for a high price. So that's what we've been doing here, looking at the restaurant. Can't do anything with events still, but it's just really guerrilla marketing for the restaurant, which is obviously working and getting some of our locals here. But certainly at the golf course, Jay, it's all of us on board, diving in the numbers of what Mike Lauslot gave us and saying, okay, what should our prices be? Should our trail fee go up? And I'm telling you, all of our prices are going up, not substantially, but they're going up. And now the idea is how can we get a good messaging to our consumer that they don't think we're greedy? What's our cart policy going to be? It's going to cost more to take your own cart. You never want everybody to think you're greedy, but you're a businessman trying to make a living, and we're still in uncertain times. The election, I understand what the PGA show's doing. What can you do? The election is, who knows what's going to happen after that. They were kind of in a spot. You could cancel that thing too early. Nobody's making airfare and hotel accommodations yet. So we'll see what happens. But this is where you earn your money, Jay, is can you forecast in a situation that's maybe unforecastable because we don't know what's going to happen. So now it goes on your gut, but stick to the data, stick to the data.
So Don, you mentioned the cart policies. Now that we've been in this COVID environment for many months, what are you finding now as far as customer requests and playing with golf cars? Are they saying, I want my own golf car, I'm willing to pay for it. I want my own golf car and I don't want to pay an increased rate. I'm willing to share. I want a divider. What are you finding? Because I'm getting some messages from golf course operators that are concerned about yield management of all of this. If a lot of folks want single rider golf cars and inventory, and how that intersects all this. So what's your playbook on that right now?
Well, out here in Arizona, I mean, nobody's talking about dividers out here. They want their own golf cart. I mean, they're used to listening to their music. They're used to speeding around, and granted, pace of play has been amazing. I mean, I've never seen it this fast before, so that's great. But they are certainly don't want to pay more for a golf cart. I've heard them. Some golf courses around me have charged a pretty big extra charge to get your own cart, and they're coming to my counter pissed off because they feel like they're being taken advantage of. And that's where we've kind of had to regroup and go, what's our messaging going to be? We only have 60 carts in the barn. I can't build a bigger barn. So there certainly is going to be some times where we're going to have to tell some groups, listen, if you rode in the same car together, you're related. We ask you to ride together. So I don't know. I think the message is going to be based on the consumer at that point. And I can't say that I've got it all figured out yet, but I do see that we're probably going to pair some people up until they say, I don't want to be paired up, and then almost hand it like a handicap flag. Why do you need to be separated? Well, I'm actually dealing with something right now. Okay, I got you. We're going to give you your own cart, but we're probably going to err on the side of combining people until they make a dispute, and then find out what that dispute is, and maybe address it that way. I think that's probably what we're going to do.
Okay, we've got a question here from Harvey Silverman. Do you think the Canadians will migrate south this winter, and will they be able to go back without being quarantined? What are you hearing?
We're looking at the Canadian sites, talking to some of our regular Canadians. I mean, if there could be a $4,000 insurance policy that they're going to have to get if they decide to come down to the States. In the past, it's maybe been $1,000. It's been increased to $4,000. So, we've talked about that. What do we do to kind of mitigate that for them if they do decide to come down? Don't know what's going to happen with the quarantine. Once again, it's almost like I'm holding my breath until the election. I hate to say that, but if there was ever an election that's going to help or hurt the golf industry and America and Canada, I mean, it is this one, right? I mean, no one knows what's going to happen. So, I'm kind of just trying to educate myself as much as I can. But Harvey, if you're going to, my answer would be this. I do think they're going to come down. I don't think they're going to come down until January 1. I think Canada's not going to make a decision until after the election. But I think they'll come down. I don't think they'll come down for more than 60 to 90 days. It'll be a very short window, and then they'll be gone back home.
All right, and last question before we bring in our guest today is, talk to us about what it was like having to leave your business for 2 weeks unexpectedly because of that emergency appendectomy. Talk to me about that. And Harvey has another question here. He says, Don, does an appendectomy add 10 yards to your drive?
It does, because I'm going to move up a tee box. That's how it's going to add some yards to my drive. I'm done. There's no more tips for Don Rea. I'm moving up. I'm 53 years old. You know what? I'm so proud of my staff. I mean, there's a reason why you teach your staff some things, and just in case I'm gone. And we've been doing that. And I will say I've been doing it because of the campaign. I've been spending a lot of time working on the secretary campaign and hope I win and know that I won't be here as much. So thankfully that has put Brian Moorfield and Josh Young and Nick Smith and Eduardo Morales, our 4 department managers here, knowing that, hey, this is what you do. So certainly with the laptop being in the hospital, I can direct some things and some bigger decisions. But they did find out, I think we all found out, that Augusta Ranch is fine, and it kind of makes me sad. They're fine if Don Rea's not here. The staff, they love it just as much as I do. We've got some very talented PGA professionals here. So I think it is, don't try to hold those things in. The only thing that I really couldn't do was sign checks. And that was the thing that kind of hampered us too. And I had to have Katie and Karen kind of shuttle some things to me in the hospital so I could sign some things. But other than that, the staff here is prepared, and we were ready for something like this when, there was no planning. I literally left on a Friday and didn't come back until 18 days later. So I'm very proud of our staff. I came around that first day expecting to see some stuff, and all I saw was just some people taking pride in the facility. So that made me very happy.
That's great. So 2 things. You learned that you pressure tested your business, with you being gone, which, if you do win the election, then you'll be gone a lot, right? So that's good. And 2 is that you're dispensable. Okay, that's
That's okay.
all right. Well, hey, listen, that's great. Thanks for the update from Mesa. It's good to see you again, upright and working again, and just in time for the September edition of Golf Business Live. So, all right. Now we will bring on our guest, Jerry Tarde. Let's bring him on, ladies and gentlemen. Bring him out of the green room. There's Jerry. Jerry is the editor-in-chief of Golf Digest magazine and the global head of strategy and content for Discovery Golf, the relatively new owners of the magazine, a division of Discovery Communications. He also oversees content for Golf TV, an international streaming service that distributes PGA Tour media rights everywhere in the world outside the U.S. His 35-year tenure as the chief editor of Golf Digest is the longest run in consumer publishing. Wow, that is a feat. Since Tarde joined the magazine in 1977, when I was 3 years old, by the way, Golf Digest has expanded to 1.65 million print circulation, and golfdigest.com has become the largest golf website with an audience of 7 million monthly unique visitors. He's also a national trustee of the First Tee. He's received a silver gavel from the American Bar Association in 1991. I want to know more about that. And a Lifetime Achievement Awards in Journalism from the PGA of America and the Masters Tournament, and he and his wife Beth live in Fairfield, Connecticut. Jerry, welcome to Golf Business Live. It's good to see you again, my friend.
Thank you, Jay and Don. I want to just sit here and listen to you guys. I've learned a lot in the last 15 minutes. You guys are amazing. Our business is really tied to your business, and there is no participation without healthy golf courses. So, it's great to hear what's happening this year. We're partners with Supreme Golf. We're invested in tee time reservations, but we agree with you. I mean, this is the time when there's a lot of people want to play, and there's no reason to be going too deeply with those discounts. We should be all enjoying the success that's out there for participating.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, hey, listen, I'm gonna start off. Well, I'm gonna start off by asking you about that award from the American Bar Association. What on earth happened in 1991 to get an award from the American Bar Association?
Well, it's a long story, but the short version is that I had asked Marcia Chambers, who is a writer, investigative reporter for the New York Times, and a friend of mine, to look into discrimination in private clubs, and this was a year before Shoal Creek, and she spent a number of months looking into it, and then the president of Shoal Creek made some comments back in 1990 at the beginning of the year. They were holding the PGA Championship that year, and on the question of discrimination at the club, a newspaper reporter asked if there was any discrimination, and Hall Thompson said, "We don't discriminate against anybody but the blacks." One of the most monumental statements made at the time that really shook the game, and it was, we think, precipitated by the series that Marcia Chambers wrote in Golf Digest. It landed a month before that interview. And as a result, the golf industry changed a bit. PGA Tour and other organizations said they would not hold championships at clubs that discriminated. And the series of pieces that Marcia wrote, we published, and was followed by a number of other stories that dealt not only with race, but matters of gender, and sexual orientation eventually. It in many ways, it began a change in the game that we're still feeling today. Not enough has happened. Obviously, it happened too late in some cases, but it's very much in the news now, and we're proud of being part of that heritage of change that goes back, a few decades, really.
Yeah, that's I guess the benefit of that longevity is to see this evolution of what you're talking about. The words discrimination and segregation have now evolved into diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the posture on these issues have changed a pretty good bit in the last 30 some odd years, but still not enough. I watched your interview with Jim Beattie and Dr. Michael Cooper last week, and it was a great conversation reflecting on a history of work that has been done in this industry, but it has probably been forgotten. dating back to, in the 90s of diversity summits in golf and so forth. So I'm heartened, I suppose, to see the level of work and care that's being done now. And it's unfortunate that it's been stimulated by very unfortunate events, but this has been a catalyst year for some amazing, I think, progress that we'll see in the golf industry. So thank you. I didn't realize that that's what that it was tied to, but I appreciate that you've been on this in one way or another, covering it or being involved in supporting the issues of diversity and inclusion for a long time. So,
and Golf Digest is sponsoring the expo that's going to occur, we hope, early next year. We're kind of like, as Don was saying, we're all trying to figure out what the timing of events are going to be. But we're committed to try to help grow the game in all ways, including recruitment of a more diverse workforce.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're also participating as sponsors of that event as well, the African American Golfer Expo and Forum that's scheduled for February in Atlanta. So great. I've got a real softball question for you to start. The interview here, and this my prepared questions is, okay, if you placed a bet on someone to win the U.S. Open this week, who was it on, Jerry?
Well, I was out there yesterday, so I got to see some of the players firsthand. I was big on Dustin Johnson. I mean, I'm going not only with the talent level, but the form that he's been in. Xander Schauffele too. Those were my two bets. I walked with Tiger for 9 holes, and JT, Justin Thomas, was in his group. So was Colin Morikawa. These are all the chalks, the best golfers playing their best. Justin really looks good out there. His dad was walking with him, his coach, Mike Thomas, and he just hit a lot of tremendous shots. He's obviously at the top of the leaderboard, not all the way at the top, but a lot of holes left to be played. But I think right now that's who my money would be on, Thomas. I was really, really impressed by his ability to control the golf ball.
That's good. But did you place a wager? Did you come on? This is gambling and golf have intersected now, right? So talk to me. Actually, let's talk about gambling and golf. What do you feel how is this going to change the nature of obviously the tours and the consumer engagement in that? Do you see this being a real game changer in some way as far as fan engagement?
I think it is all about engagement. I think we all now watch golf with a second screen, whether it's Twitter or Slack. If we have a group of friends that we are all kind of trash talking each other during a round of golf or any kind of sporting event, that's become the nature of watching sports, live sports. One of the challenges that golf has is that live golf is not exactly live. There's a delay between, very often on most shots, between when they're actually struck and when when they're shown on television. Okay. Sometimes it's only a few seconds, sometimes it's 30 seconds or a minute. And obviously, as we learned in the movie The Sting, that delay can be used by gamblers to win bets. So I think that some of these things have to be worked out. But I think it'll lead to tremendous interest in addition to what we see today, and I think it'll be fun. The tour, very smartly, Jay Monahan is out ahead of all of us on this, and I think maybe it's going to lead to some problems, but I think they're taking good precautions to make sure that the right decisions are made, the right regulations are in place to keep it honest. And that's golf's a game of integrity. It's got to start with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Don, do you have any questions for Jerry about the Open this week?
Yeah, well, I have a different question, but I will say, I grew up in Vegas, Jerry. So, you're talking about the Sting and, I remember the names Lefty Rosenthal and all those things. So the gambling side of it is, I've always been cautious about. Even when I was a professional umpire, the FBI would talk to me about the conversations I might have with my dad when I was doing a spring training major league game, because maybe I had a rift with the pitcher, and would that affect the over-under of the game? I mean, very interesting. You don't think about these things, but a very offhand comment to my dad. and he places a bet that he wins, is like, did Don give him some intel? So, it's hard, and I'm glad you guys are taking your time on that, because you'd hate for something like that to contaminate our sport, since it's so clean and we pride ourselves on it. When I was looking at your resume and what you're doing, I mean, something that I'm big about is that 8% of the population plays golf, Jerry, right? And now I see this relationship with what you're doing with Discovery Golf Channel, a division of Discovery. What do you think? How do we, that 92% that doesn't play golf, do you have any ideas of where you're going to go? I mean, I know where your sweet spot is with Golf Digest, and these are the people who play golf all the time. But how do you leverage kind of what you're in charge of now to bring more people into the game? What are your ideas there?
Well, I think that's the big question we've been asking for quite a while. The benefit of our business and ownership under Discovery is that we're not just looking at the U.S., we're looking at the world. And that is a big opportunity, especially in Asia. Countries like Japan is certainly a mature golf country. China is the great frontier. There's a lot of opportunity there. India, it's always surprised me why India isn't a bigger power in golf than we've seen so far. And of course, Korea is that's in many ways the strongest golf country per capita. I think looking internationally is going to be an opportunity. Golf TV, which is one of our businesses, was launched just within the last 2 years in partnership with the PGA Tour. We have the media rights for both linear and streaming on all devices of PGA Tour events everywhere in the world except the U.S. So that's our big play. We've invested deeply into that because we think that's where the growth area is. In the U.S., I think it's women, and this is a real challenge for us. We've owned 2 women's golf magazines, Golf for Women and Golf Digest Woman. And both no longer exist. We have really spent into this, and we haven't cracked the code yet. But I think what we've seen this year in terms of family golf, people coming out to play who haven't played before or have tested it before but are now enjoying the game more. I feel that this is a tremendous opportunity to keep those players, not let them kind of wander off and either give it up or go on to other sports, but not remain as committed. I think there's a real opportunity here for us to continue to grow what we've seen in this very challenging year. I think the word you were dealing with it earlier is welcoming. That's been the key. Golf has to welcome at all levels. Whether it's the young men to take the clubs out of your trunk when you arrive at a country club, or the greenkeepers and the people who take your money at public courses and munis where I happen to grow up. I think everybody has to kind of appreciate that we need new golfers, and that and it starts with people greeting and making people feel comfortable being a part of golf.
Jerry, you mentioned kind of the new frontier, China, or the great frontier that's out there. What about, speaking of great frontiers, there seems to be a real rise, and I'm glad to see this, an interest and utilization of off-course golfing, off-course alternatives like golf simulators, and like shots in the dark that's out there at Indian Wells and so forth. I've been pretty bullish on that as a new frontier for engagement with the game and the sport and the business as a revenue center, as a hospitality entertainment center. I'm looking out for golf course owners and looking for new revenue streams to make their businesses, sustainable for the future. What do you see from your perspective, since you're a B2C, primarily a B2C golfer? I know you cover technology in the golf in the magazine, and you award the best simulators out there. Where do you see this from a frontier standpoint in the States? We see it happening in Korea. It is ubiquitous in Korea, but it's not ubiquitous in the U.S. Do you see it becoming ubiquitous in the U.S.?
I think so. I mean, this is an area of great interest for us because we see instruction moving in that direction. Remote, virtual instruction, the ability to communicate with your teacher long distance. Everybody now texts their teacher. To me, the great example of this is the way the medical profession has gone with concierge businesses, but also these virtual visits. I think it's the way of the future, and I know I've had a lot of conversations with Pete Bavacqua about this when he was running the PGA, and he crystallized it by saying that he doesn't want the teaching professional to become the owner of a record store. That's just disappeared now, and I think that there's this great opportunity for us through video lessons and through social engagement to be able to keep a conversation going with teachers and students, and really help people get better. We have a new app that just released this past week that is kind of like a Netflix version of golf instruction. 400 hours of lessons from the best teachers, and I think that's just beginning to scrape the surface of what we can do. Kind of phase 2 of that will be to be able to get your lessons individually, and then phase 3 will be kind of our Peloton model, which is to actually have a device that measures impact, records every swing that you take, and allows your coach to begin to work personally with you and give you instruction advice. So, I mean, this is one element of golf. It's kind of the top golf of instruction. But I see a lot of people jumping into this, and I really think that it's going to help people get better and enjoy the game.
You know, I'm looking forward to it, and I've planted the seeds on this. I've said things to Mike Davis and to, I mean, Pete Bavacqua probably before Seth was. I'm looking forward to the first real, with prize money, national championship simulator golf tournament. Because, you know, when you play out there in a major, the conditions can change from morning to afternoon, right? So the afternoon players might be playing a slightly different course than the morning, and all there are, conditions, and you've changed golf courses. But if you can control the environment, which you can in a simulator, as far as the technology, everybody's playing the same course, same kinds of specs, then you're really standardizing the experience there. But to have a simulator, I mean, they're doing this in gaming right now. There are 7-figure prizes in gaming for kids to play Fortnite and beat each other, and all of this. I wouldn't say kids, there are adults that are winning this stuff too. But I'm looking forward to the day when we see a true national simulator championship with some serious prize money. I think something like that will really spark this interest in playing, off the golf course when it's raining or when the sun goes down, and and the beer taps start flowing a little bit more. Is get out there and play the simulator golf, at your local courses. But could you see that being a reality?
Well, I mean, Korea, it's a reality in Korea already. More than 50% of the golf that's played in Korea is played indoors on simulators, and the company Golf Zone has the market share, the big market share there. They run they have a TV network that's kind of like a golf channel that shows their events. They have national championships and a tour with professionals who are specialists in playing indoor golf. So I think so far it hasn't really broken out from the borders of Korea. You don't see much of it even in Japan. Yeah. But I think this year has kind of opened people's eyes, and the technology is getting better too. So this is definitely going to be able to bring more people into golf. It can also allow us to play in Connecticut against friends in California and really compete when available, which means sometimes at night or different time zones. It still remains to be seen, but I think it's a pretty good bet that this is going to be a part of golf's future.
When my kids are playing simultaneous, Xbox with kids from around the world, it just tells you something that this is the world they're growing up in. So while it seems to be kind of a foreign concept for a lot of adults to think, why would I do that? I can't. But the kids growing up, they're growing up with this, and so we got to see someone in golf kind of get there and get ahead of the curve instead of being behind the curve on this stuff. Because if one of the entities within golf doesn't do this, someone else is going to do it, and they are going to capture the economics of it. And someone inside golf needs to do this, just like the simulator business, Jerry. I'm thinking I'd rather not see some business outside golf invest and make this successful. I'd rather see existing golf course operators invest in the simulator business as a new form of F&B hospitality and way to play the game, rather than the economics of it happening elsewhere. Because no one better than the golf course operator to manage that kind of thing. Don't want the Starbucks guy going off and opening up a golf cafe, as they call it in Korea. So anyway, I got another question for you. Okay, so golf seems to live at the intersection of what I would say aspiration and egalitarian, right? We've got private clubs, collared shirts, as Brooks Koepka would say, stuffiness. That's part of the golf culture and the golf reality. Then there's the loose rules, no dress codes, music on the card, etc. So we're kind of living at this intersection, it feels like. Do you think that golf can continue to live at this intersection, or will it have to pick a path for the future?
Well, I don't think there's one path. I think definitely the game is going more toward the more casual aspects of playing. But I think there's always going to be the serious hardcore golfer that likes the maybe you might say the elite private club experience. I grew up in Philadelphia playing a municipal course that was 2 blocks away, par 63. It had 9 bunkers on the whole 18 holes. A wide variety of players that you expect in public golf. And my time playing those courses were as happy as I've ever been on a golf course. I think that game still exists today and can be fully enjoyed, and it's pretty loose. It's played, in t-shirts and shorts and sneakers, as well as people who are very serious about it playing on the same facility. So I think that's always been a part of the game. It came from shepherds and the everyday players of Scotland and Ireland. I think that is the heart of the game, and the casual way of playing now, maybe with music, and it's still going to be where the core of golf is. But I don't see us walking away from that serious private club elements too. Maybe that number will shrink a bit. Only the best courses will survive, maybe in terms of clubs. But I think that's the beauty of golf, is that there's a full menu from peanut butter and jelly to lobster, and people love it.
No, that's a great. I use the analogy that the restaurant industry, the dining out industry, when someone asks, if someone fell on earth and said, "What is it like to eat out at a restaurant?" What are you going to say? You're going to say, "Well, what do you want? We have everything. We have the peanut butter and jelly. We have the greasy spoon diner and the high end restaurants. We have it all." That is what people need to say about golf, is that we have it all, and that's unfortunately right now that's not the perception. So somehow we have to have perception match reality, that we have a full menu of whatever you want, whatever kind of experience you want, you can find it in golf. That needs to be the marketing to the consumer, in my opinion. But no, you use a very similar analogy to what I use.
You have to let me say something about this, Jay. Come on, you're killing me. I mean, to say that are the restaurants at the intersection of drinking and food? No, those things never collide. They work together all the time. I mean, just using that word, Jay, I would never say intersection of anything again. We are multiple lanes going down the highway in the right direction, and you can pass each other. You can go into different lanes. I can play golf with Katie and not care what we shoot. And then I can play in a section event and try to make some money. And that's the beauty of a game. There's no intersection of that. And to maybe someone who's getting into the game thinks there will be, that if I don't wait, there's going to be a crash. There is no crash. You come out and play, and if you've never played before, don't worry. You don't have to get on the Black Diamond Slope the first time you ski. You get on the Bunny Hill, and everybody's just happy that you've got skis on. And the sooner golf kind of embraces that, it doesn't matter what club you're swinging, inside or outside, whether it's in Korea or in the United States, you're playing golf, enjoy it. I think we should count them all. But at the end of the day, there is no intersection. It is all of us going in the same direction of spending time together. And that's why our sport does answer all those questions. But I don't think we have to even talk about that anymore, because I think the courses like me are doing a great job. And I think the courses like WingFit are doing a great job too. They're embracing family. They're embracing pickleball. They're embracing these things that they know that people just want to spend time together. So let's just start talking about multiple lanes going down the same freeway and just switching lanes, whatever you want to do that day. That's the beauty of it.
Good analogy. Yeah, that's very good. We'll use that new analogy. All right, so we're coming up on the 3:45 mark here, and I'm going to close out with this question with Jerry and Don. If you have any final questions, by all means, you can ask after this. All right, Jerry, if I gave you a blank check with unlimited funds and said you could go buy a golf course or build a golf course, and it's yours, Jerry. You own it. You're the man. You get to own it. You only answer to yourself. What kind of course would you want? Where would it be? What kind of place would you run?
Well, what Don just said reminded me of something that Dermot Desmond, my old Irish friend, once said to me, that there are three joys of golf: how you play, where you play, and who you play with. And the first two are overrated. That to me, we all enjoy all the aspects of it. The challenge of hitting a good shot to a tight pin, the playing the seaside links that with the wind in our face, and all that's great. But to me, the real fun is what golf does, which is bring you together with friends for long periods of time, and really building relationships. That kind of emanates in so many ways. And that's why it's such a capitalist tool for business, but it's also just a great sport for enjoying yourself and getting away and in a year like this, kind of appreciating what life gives you. So I think the people who love golf have discovered that, and the people who don't love golf just haven't discovered it yet. But there's hope out there for them. Okay, so to answer your question about what course would I love to have a piece of. I love remote architecture. I love going places and having the journey to get there and being away from it all when you're there. A friend of mine, Dick Youngscap from Lincoln, Nebraska, discovered something like this in the Sandhills of Nebraska, and it's Sandhills Golf Club, and to me, it's gold. He amazingly he built that course probably 25 years ago now, and he spent less than $1 million to build Sandhills, and $750,000 of that million was spent on the irrigation system. He spent less than $250,000 to build what is now one of the top 10 courses in the country and probably the world. Wow! It was great land. It had what they call the rumpled blanket. It looks like the ocean, the floor of the ocean bottom. It has that links sandy, goes down 1,000 feet of sand. It's just an amazing place, and you have to really want to be there, which makes it fun to have customers that really want to get to your place and really appreciate it when they get there. I love the ocean. I love being on the water. This is pretty far from the water in Nebraska, but to me, he did everything right. There's no big clubhouse. Everything is understated, except the food and the wine, which is great, but underpriced. It's just a wonderful place to be, and I think it was the inspiration that Mike Kaiser took to build Bandon Dunes and Cabot and all the places that Mike is now growing his business into. So I think there's a magic to golf, and it starts with the land when you're lucky enough to have it, and people are willing to go a long distance to be with their friends and play golf when you get it right. And and golf gets it right a lot.
Yeah, no, that's good. So what I'm hearing is you're going to be retiring in Nebraska. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, it's a short season, so I'm not going to spend all 12 months there.
Don, any final questions for Jerry?
No, I thought this was great, and it's just a pleasure to meet you, sir. I'm big on that 92% that doesn't play golf, and I know your magazine's done a great job. As I showed you before we got on, my dad's issue from 1970. And to see how golf.
I'm going to show this right here. Look at this.
I got it right here.
Right here, bud.
Oh, there it is. But I just, what I've seen with Golf Digest has done for golf. I've always loved your magazine. When I found these in my dad's garage, I pulled out the ones that I really wanted to look at. But, I'm just excited about all of the things that you're actually controlling, because as a guy who runs a par 61 golf course, and I've seen the impact of golf, and I almost equate it to fishing a little bit. I'm not a very good fisherman, but I like to fish different lakes. And there's some people catching more fish than me, but I'm like, I just try to get better at fishing. And there's no joy but catching that fish, right? Even if it's only one. And golf's the same way. I wish people wouldn't just go out there and go, well, I'm not very good at it. How can I enjoy it? I'm not good at fishing, but I enjoy the surroundings. And that's why I'm not worried inside or outside golf. Eventually, you're going to migrate to outdoor golf, because the smell of cut grass and listening to the birds, there's nothing like it. And I think these millennials will eventually slow down, and they're going to want that too. We just got to show them right now that Glow Golf is just as fun as regular golf, and so is Top Golf. So I appreciate everything you're doing. I see it. I see it in the magazine of what you're trying to do to grow the game. And I think those things that I'm passing my magazine on to someone who doesn't play golf, and go, well, read this. There's a really cool article about a trip you can take. It interests them. And so I just love where you're going with the magazine. I just applaud your efforts. And, 50 years, I mean, it's just you've made an impact. And I just appreciate the impact you're going to make with all the ventures you have now. It's very exciting for me as a member of the PGA.
We used to own a magazine called Tennis Magazine. And the problem with tennis is that a tennis court's a tennis court. If you've seen one, you kind of seen them all. Golf is so much richer than that. Mm-hmm. And I think it does start with the golf courses, and you guys are at the heart of that. So we really appreciate what you've done, and what your audience brings to this game. It's a big measure of what enjoyment we get out of it. So thank you very much.
All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for joining you. Those that have been on YouTube and Facebook, we appreciate you rolling with the changes now. And we hopefully this was good experience for everybody. And we look forward to seeing you in October with Golf Business Live again. Everybody stay safe and enjoy the US Open this week. And we'll see you soon again. Thanks, everybody.